I've always been a little obsessed with the movie Face Off. And recently I watched it again.
Oh, wow.
I watched it again and we showed it to my son. And he was like, oh my God, this is Face Off, Nicolas Cage, John Travolta. You have in your book this insane story, and you have a very intimate connection to the movie Face Off.
Yes. My first orgasm.
Because of the movie or just
not because of it's
okay.
circumstantial. You know how like sometimes you're hooking up with somebody and that's in the back, like a movie's in the background.
Face Off is always on.
It's not.
Wait, were you? It was on TV?
No, it was in a movie theater.
Oh, for Christ's sake!
It was in a movie theater.
You broke Conan.
You're in the theater.
I'm in the theater, and it was barely anybody there. It was the last show of the night, and it was like nobody in there. And I was on a date. Me and this guy were at the back of the theater, and we're making out and stuff. And then he starts, fiddling around, little fiddly diddly dee, little fiddly
diddly dee,
little fiddly diddly dee,
fiddly diddly dee. If you kids out there are listening, that's a little nursery rhyme for you.
And now I should like to perform fiddly diddly dee on you.
So okay,
and I'm enjoying it, eyes closed, and then I'm feeling this like crazy sensation through my body, and I open my eyes, and it's like Nicolas Cage eyes is looking into my eyes.
Oh,
yes,
wow.
like this, like and I'm like and
whoa! So you have your first orgasm, and you're looking at a giant Nicolas Cage face.
That's complicated.
Yes, and eyeballs, the most beautiful eyes ever seen.
But it's actually John Travolta who you're looking at. That's the weird thing, right?
Okay, don't take us
I'm
down
just
that.
saying.
No.
Not in that part of the movie.
Okay.
Jesus Christ, you're
just going by the legend of the film, which I think is important.
Yeah, sure. That's what we're all focusing on right now.
Important.
Okay, so
maybe it's John Travolta's face and it's Nicolas Cage. Whatever it was his. It's definitely his eyeballs.
I have got to get us out of this side alley and back onto the highway.
To many years later. Okay, many years later, I'm shooting a movie with Nicolas Cage.
Oh my God!
And it's during pandemic, and so he's wearing his mask, and all I'm seeing is those eyes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and I know my lines, I know my stuff, but I am so like my brain is going back to that moment.
Sure.
I'm remembering all of that moment, and I need to be focused on right now. And I was having the hardest time focusing on right now because oh man, those are the eyes we saw. And it's like, stop it, body, stop it, mind. Like focus on this. They're paying us millions of dollars to be here right now, and I'm like having the hardest time. And then I just had to tell him, and I felt
you told him.
I was like, this is probably the most inappropriate thing. Like, it was no way for me to I couldn't function. I couldn't communicate. I couldn't do my job. And I was just like, yo, I got to tell you something. It's very inappropriate. I probably shouldn't tell you at all, but I'm not going to be able to do my job if I don't tell you. And you might be offended by it. I don't know, but I got to tell you. And so he was like, all right, tell me what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Come on. And I tell him the story, and he burst out laughing. And he was like, what's crazy is my first wife, she saw me in the movie, and she said, that's going to be my husband one day. And we ended up getting married. I said, well, I'm going to tell you right now, ain't no fiddling no beans over here, ain't no fiddly diddly over here. Okay? That's not going to be happening over here, but I just needed to tell you that so that I could do my freaking job. And then once I was able to get that off my chest, it was like, okay, now we can get to work. And we became friends. We became friends, and it's so funny because all the other cast members were like, how'd you get him he talks to you all the time. He's so cool with you. He doesn't talk to us. And he would give me money advice and tell me about this is the ups and downs of the business and this and that and all these different things. I met his fiance at the time. We talked on the phone. I speak Japanese, so I was able to talk to her a little bit. And so we became really cool. And everybody's like, how'd you do it? What did you say to him? I was like, I just told him a story about my experience, and we've been cool ever since. And he's mean. I'm like, he's not mean. He is a nice person. He is a cool person. They're like, well, that's not what we're experiencing. I'm like, well, you don't have no good stories to tell.
I'm making a mental note when I see Nicolas Cage, and I will. I'm telling him I had my first orgasm.
Everyone should bombard him.
Yeah,
with that.
and then he and I will be best friends.
Yeah.
He'll give me all this incredible advice. You are so frank about sex and its role in your life, and it amazes me that when you were growing up, your mom did a lot
to prevent it.
To actively discourage you from having anything to do with the opposite sex. And she told you some intensely crazy stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, very crazy. She told me that, okay, so we was watching this soap opera, right? And on the soap opera, the girl's in the bed with the man and stuff. And I'm like, what are they doing? What are they doing? She said, oh, that's what you do to make a baby. I said, oh, I'm going to do that. She's like, no, you're not. Not till you're 21. I'm like, well, why? And she said, well, you have to get your vaccine first. First, you got to get vaccinated. I was like, what do you mean? She said, you got to get the shot. I was like, what shot? She said, look, boys have this stuff. She said they got enzymes in their mouth, right? And if you kiss a boy, the enzymes in their mouth, if you don't have your vaccine, it's going to eat your face up, right? And you're going to die within 24 hours, right? And they got this stuff that shoots out their pee-pee that look like snot. And if that gets inside your baby carriage, then it's going to eat your insides. It's going to kill your baby carriage. Your legs going to fall off, all this bad stuff, and you're going to die in 3 days. And so
it's like The Ring.
Would be a great scary movie. Scary movie. Yeah. And so I went to school, and my friend Amber was kissing this boy, and I was crying. I was like, "Oh my God, you're gonna die! You're gonna die!
Oh my God,
oh my God, you're gonna die!" And she's like, Amber's like, "What is wrong with you?" And I'm giving you the abbreviated version. In the book, it's much more, detailed. But I get home and I'm crying, and my mom's like, "What you crying about?" And I'm like, "Amber was kissing this boy, and she gonna die. So sad, she gonna die." She was like, she is not gonna die. See, her parents knew she was gonna be a hoe, so they got the shot for her early. She got the shot early. She got vaccinated early because they knew she was gonna be a hoe. So for years.
Are you a hoe? If so, we have a medication for you.
So for years, I was under the impression that all these, I would see these girls kissing boys at school and stuff, and I'm like, she a hoe, that's a hoe, they a hoe. They not 21 yet, they not vaccinated, or she probably got the shot early. Her parents knew she was gonna be a hoe, and I used to say little stuff like that, like, your family knew you was a hoe. Just say little stuff like that. And when we got in health class, and they're talking about all the different STDs you can get, and then I'm like, excuse me, what about the
enzymes in the mouth,
the baby carriage?
Yeah.
And then the teacher tells me to explain this, and I explained it, and everybody in the class busted up laughing. And he's like, Tiffany, I think you need to talk to your mom again. I think you need to talk to, you need to have a conversation, because this is not, because I was like, what about the sperm disease? What about that? What about the sperm disease? And it was, and he didn't tell me I was wrong, but he said you should talk to your parents, right? So I couldn't really talk to my mom at that point because she done had the accident and all this stuff done happened. Right. So, I mentioned it to my social worker. The social worker's like, well, I don't know if that's correct, but I like the way she's, it's interesting. Okay.
Right. She kind of appreciated where it's coming from.
Right.
It's coming from a place of caution.
Yeah, a place of caution. But once I found out, that's not a thing, then I was like, oh, okay. And then I was trying to kiss boys and trying to, get in there.
Yeah.
Get it in.
Yeah.
Oh because I didn't want to die of no man in China. No man in my vagina. I want to have an experience before I die.
I didn't realize that was a fatal disease. No manangina? Wow.
Yeah, because it was people at school getting meningitis. That's for making out with people or whatever, you know? And I was like, well, I don't want to die of no manangina.
You had some people tell you early on when you were doing stand-up, maybe not so much sex talk.
Yeah.
And then you got some good advice.
Yes.
From
Bob Saget.
Yes.
Who told me, that was the first white man, probably one of the few white men that was like, be who you are. Be yourself. Don't listen to everybody. If you feel comfortable doing it, do that. Fuck them. Do what feels right for you.
Yeah.
And that was a huge, that was my big brother. I love him very much, It's like a big brother to me. And, the fact that he told me to be myself, so used to people trying to tell me to be different, be something else, and for him to say, this is Full House Dad. He's telling me, be who you are. Fuck them. Talk about what you want to talk about and do you. It'll pay off in the long run.